fourth event. So I'm very happy that you ladies continue to come back and you bring more people. I'm very blessed about it. So thank you. Tonight, we're mostly again speaking about securing the bag. So traditional IRAs versus Roth IRAs, brokerage accounts, stock basics, starting an LLC for those who had it in mind. What's the difference between having an LLC versus a PLLC for my professionals who want to do that, and just different saving apps that can help you save money without even thinking about it. Our speaker tonight, I don't know how to highlight you, but will be Miss Kellyanne Redley. Hey, Kelly, would you like to introduce yourself and tell the people more about you?
Oh, I thought you were gonna give me an introduction and then I was gonna be like,
Okay, you're right.
no, that's fine. That's fine.
No, I didn't know what you wanted me to say, so.
No, I'm gonna tell my investor journey. I don't know what you wanted to share. Why you
No,
felt
just more
like,
about who you are before
oh,
investment, before the money, before she
okay,
got bougie on us, she was a person.
okay,
So tell the people about the
okay,
regular Kelly.
okay. I thank you so much for having me.
Of
Thank
course.
you everybody for joining. My name is Kellyanne Redley. I am a pediatric nurse practitioner by day. Well, really not by day, by night, because I work at night. And I work in the pediatric cardiac ICU in Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. So sorry about that. When I'm not, I thought I muted this. When I am not practicing as a pediatric nurse practitioner, I am a part of two businesses um, in real estate and tourism. And then there's my other love of investing. And that's pretty much it. Do you want me to share something else, Ahani?
No.
I think, yeah.
No questions or anything? Again, just some basic slides, some questions to keep in mind as Kelly speaks, because she has a lot of information to get through. So if there was any specific questions as she speaks, write them down, throw them in the chat, and I'll be going through it so I can ask her certain questions that she doesn't see.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if I can see the chat. Once it pops up, I'll see it, but I'll stop sharing once she stops her presentation, and then we can go through questions, and then I'll get into my part, which is LLC and PLLC.
Okay, perfect.
Perfect.
So I want to start with just sharing my investment journey. And so I think that pretty much started around the time when I became a nurse. So that was 2010. I think that was around 2010. And you start your new job and I started investing, thank God, to some experienced nurses that told me, it's really important to invest in your retirement, because retirement wasn't something that I was thinking about at 22 and 23. So they encouraged me to invest in my retirement. I started investing like 10% of my paycheck into my retirement every 2 weeks. And then every time I got a raise, they were like, basically, you just increase the amount, the percentage that you're investing towards. And so that kind of started it. And then finally, when I transitioned from being a nurse to a nurse practitioner, that was in 2017, I just became more interested in just learning, wanting to make my money work for me, wanting to invest, wanting to just capitalize on money as much as I could. And so that sparked my interest. A couple of books. I've always been like interested in investing. So I read a couple of books. And at that time, the book that stood out to me was Women and Money by Susie Orman. It's still a good book. It might be a little bit dated in the information, but it's still a good book to read and kind of get a basics, kind of get the basics on the importance of saving, what the stock market means, what ETFs means, and what all of that means. And so at that time, I decided that the account that I had at my old institution, I would use it and take it to a financial advisor. So I found a financial advisor from a reputable friend, and he basically went over with me everything, what the stock market is, what bonds are, what this is. And I basically felt comfortable with him giving him my retirement money at that time and investing it for me. So he was investing on my behalf. Essentially, what I'm going to go over a little bit is basically what a financial advisor would do for you. I basically do it for myself. I still have him as a financial advisor. He does still run that account, but eventually I hope to take everything over and do it for myself. And so between that time, I continue to invest. I continue to read certain books. I want to share Money Master the Game by Tony Robinson. That was like a game changer also for me. And that really sparked my interest more around. So I went back to my financial advisor after reading that book. And I'm like, why am I not invested in gold? Why am I not invested in REITs? Why am I? And so it was just having this dialogue and really understanding. And he appreciated that because lots of people just be like, oh, I want to invest my money, make sure that I gain money and that's it. And so that really sparked my interest, but I wasn't really confident enough to like jump into the market. So I had like retirement, I had like an account that I could invest in, but I never actually went in and went to it myself. My financial advisor basically did all of that for me. And then 2020 happened. And it was a blessing and a curse because in the middle of this chaotic time, the market presented an opportunity. And so at the time, I didn't know about fundamentals. I didn't know about technical analysis. So I just jumped in because I knew it was a sale. It was basically like being at Saks and everything was 50% off. So I remember telling a couple of my friends, like, yo, buy something. I think some of them are even on the line. I'm like, yo, buy something, buy anything. I know if I didn't know anything, something's on sale. And so fast forward at the same time that I jumped into the market, I don't know if you guys are familiar with EYL. They start Market Mondays. And so they are talking about the stock market weekly. So it's perfect. So how I jumped in the market, I basically jumped in and bought things that I used. I bought Apple, I bought Uber, I bought Facebook. So I didn't have any idea of how a company worked, what was the importance of a company. I just jumped in and did companies that I used. And then EYL at the same time basically starts their Market Mondays. So I just follow them weekly and kind of now work backwards. So now I'm figuring out why the companies that I bought were actually good companies. And so I work backwards and I start to learn about fundamentals and I start to learn about technical analysis and that and all of that. And I make good returns. And then I head over into the options market, which I'm not going to go into that today, but it's like another form of investing. So I'll head over to the options market, start to learn options, and now I'm making even more returns on it, on the options. And then I decide, oh, well, I'm making money, so I need to teach my friends. So I start to teach my friends, start to teach like friends and family here and there. And then they start making money. So then Sahami, Sahami invites me to speak to you guys to share, what I've learned. Of course, 2020 was like, that's not typically how the market works. So basically anybody who invested last year, everybody made money, right? If you knew what you were doing, everybody basically made money. So I don't want to say like I'm a guru, but I did learn enough to know like how to, maneuver the market. And even from prior to 2020 even happening, taking the time to read those books and finally being able to apply that information with like platforms like EYL that was offering that at the same time and building my account more than like, I think I got like, I believe like 100% return on my investments, even with the dips in the market, still with 100% returns. And so that's kind of my investment journey. And I go into it and I first I want to talk about the importance of like having setting goals for yourself, because depending on the goals that you have, it's going to depend on what kind of account you're going to invest in, what kind of account you want to invest in, and what that means for you, because it can be different. If you want to pay your debt off in 5 years, you're not going to invest your money into a retirement account. And so that's why I say it's so important to kind of identify your goals, your short-term and your long-term goals, and then that will decide for you how you invest, where you invest, and what kind of investor you'll be essentially. And so before I even get into the different type of accounts, just the importance of saving. Because I said that in 2020, I jumped into the market when the market had a dip, and it only that opportunity presented itself because I was prepared. Like I had savings to jump into the market, and so my recommendation is what has helped me is to treat your savings like a bill. So you pay yourself every 2 weeks or every month, and you set that money aside for emergencies, for whatever you need your money for. And so that you are able to execute when there is a sale, when you want to jump into the market, when you want to do this. And so I kind of told myself that, like, I bought a car and I made a way to pay the bill. I made a way to pay the car note every month. And that was a new expense for me when I bought the car. Right. And so the same thing goes for the savings. Like the same thing goes for me. And so every month I pay myself. Like that's a bill and it has to get paid. And kind of having that mindset, I think, is a good way to kind of look at savings, because people will always make excuses for like not saving. Like I have this to do, I have this to do. But if it's a bill, like you make sure you pay your bills on time. I hope so. Then you make sure you pay yourself. And so you'll have the opportunity to execute on opportunities that present itself whenever they do present itself. And so I want to talk about the three types of investment accounts. Um, so I told you how I started my investment journey in a retirement account when I first became a nurse. And so everybody has that opportunity to do that at their job. Basically, it's a traditional individual retirement account where you can allocate money to your traditional IRA. Usually it's by percent and it's pre-taxed. And so every 2 weeks you determine, I started with 10%, but every 2 weeks you determine how much you want to put in, and it's pre-tax. And that's like, that's like a plus. Like you get to put in the money pre-taxed. The thing with that, the max amount of percentage that you can save biweekly in a traditional retirement account is 20%. And then which equates to about $19,500 a year. And so the benefit with this is that you can use it as a tax break, because when you max out on your retirement, because you max out, if you put 20% in, you max out at 19,500. Now, if you made $100,000 that year, now your new income, because it's pre-tax, so they take away that money that you invested in, that 19,500, and now your new gross income is 80,500. And so there's tax benefits to saving. The platforms that they use is like Fidelity, Vanguard. These are probably Charles Schwab. Like each institution is different on the accounts that they use, and they usually have like a targeted account. Like, so if you want to retire in 2065 or whatever the year is, it's either a computer or a fund manager that invest on your behalf. And basically, they go from risky to less risky as you reach the retirement age. And when I say risky versus less risky, is basically just a matter of how you allocate the account between like stocks and bonds. And so it's kind of like a set it and forget it. You put your money in and invest, you take it over at the end. The thing with a traditional IRA is that at the end, because it's pre-taxed, you get taxed on that money afterwards. So whatever that year of retirement is that you take the money, whatever the tax rate is at the time, you have to pay taxes on that money. Which, I mean, it's like, would you save that amount of money by yourself? Maybe not. Like, it's a good incentive. So I don't think that it's a bad thing if you get taxed on the money. Uncle Sam is going to get his money regardless. So another thing that people don't really take an opportunity with their traditional IRA accounts is that some companies match. And so what it means to match is that after you become vested in the company, whether it's 3 years or 5 years, it just depends on the institution on what they call vested, they match the amount of money that you put into your retirement account, whether it be like 3% to up to 5%. And so that's free money. Basically, they're giving you 5% on the money that you put into the account. And so people, employers don't really announce it, but it's something to ask about and make sure you get your money. And then fast forward, anybody have any questions? Sahami, is there any questions? You're muted.
No, you can keep going.
Okay.
I think people are just taking notes for now, but I'm keeping watching the chat to make sure.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
So now you have your Roth IRA. And so like everybody likes to, you'll hear that a lot, your traditional IRA and then your Roth IRA. So your Roth IRA is basically after taxes. So you took your money, you want to start your own retirement account separate from your job, and you open up a retirement account on your own. This is a Roth IRA. So it's after taxes. And whatever money you put into your Roth IRA at the end is what you take. So if you put in $1 million in your Roth IRA, when you're ready to retire, that $1 million you're going to get back. It's not like your traditional where it's pre-taxed and you have to pay taxes on that. So your Roth IRA is great. So people are like, oh, well, I'll just put money into my Roth IRA because why am I going to get taxed on the money? So there's a limit to it because you can only put $6,000 a year into your Roth IRA. And you can't do like 4 different Roth IRAs and then put 6,000 in each. No, it's 6,000 across the board. So if you have 4 different Roth IRAs for whatever reason, it has to total to 6,000 across the board. And I think even people who make more than 6 figures, I don't even think you could put in the whole 6K. I did, but I've read somewhere that you're not supposed to ask my tax person. But so there's other limitations too. When you make even more money, when you make even more than 6 figures, you have to put the limit is not 6,000. The limit is not 6,000. It's even lower than that. And so with the good thing with your Roth IRA, there's a question, sorry. The good thing with I'll answer it. The good thing with the Roth IRA is that you can buy stocks and bonds in there. You're free to buy stocks and bonds or whatever you want in there. What happened, Sahami?
No, I was unmuting because I was speaking, but I keep forgetting I'm muted.
Okay, yeah. So with the Roth IRA, you can invest in your Roth IRA. And the good thing is that which I'll talk about later, in a brokerage account and you're buying stocks, in a Roth IRA, you don't have to pay capital gains taxes on your investments. So of course, if you're making money off the stocks, Uncle Sam wants his piece too. So they charge you capital gains taxes on your investments. If it's under a year and a day, it's less capital gains tax versus if you waited more than a year and a day to take your proceeds from your investments. But the good thing with the Roth IRA is there's no capital gains taxes. So there's something to take to consider though, because you're like, oh, well, there's no capital gains taxes. I'm about to just put all my money in a Roth. I'm gonna take my 6,000, put all the money in the Roth IRA, and that's it. But remember when I said to think about your goals. If you're trying to buy a house in 5 to 10 years, that's not where you want to put your money. If it's like, I want to set up myself for my retirement and my kids, then that's a perfect place to put your money, right? And so then the final thing is the brokerage account. So a brokerage account is just like a checking account. You get a checkbook, you get a card. The only thing is you can buy stocks in it. That's the basic difference, is you can buy stocks in it. You can trade in it as much as you like. And as I mentioned before, with your brokerage account, though, whatever the gains are, you have to pay taxes on it. And it's the same, it works the same. If it's above a year and a day, it's less taxes than you would do less than a year and a day. So if you're planning to be like a swing trader or a day trader, that's something that you want to consider. You're gonna pay taxes on your gains. If you lose money, it works out for you because you write that off on your taxes. But if you gain, you have to pay taxes on it. And so that's basically the whole gist of the basic accounts that you can invest in. Some platforms, I don't know if I mentioned the platforms, it's like a Vanguard, Charles Schwab, Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, E-Trade. You could do, these are platforms that you have traditional IRAs that your institutions use to invest, or that you can open up your own accounts and invest in. I didn't make a slide for this, but for those of you who have children, there are also like custodial accounts. It's like the UPMA and the UMA, and those you can invest in for your children. And basically the main differences between one and the other is that one, you could use it strictly for educational purposes, and the other, you can essentially the child could use it for whatever they want. And I could share with Sahami a YouTube that kind of really breaks down those custodial accounts. So now we get into the stock market, finally. And so I wanted to use this platform to kind of explain the nuances that people don't really explain. It's like, where the hell do you buy a stock? Like, what does this mean? Like, what's the NASDAQ? Like, I'm going to explain those kind of things to you, and hopefully I make it really clear. So the most popular indexes and just groups of companies that you hear about is the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and the Dow. And that's basically what investors use to kind of judge how the market is moving. Like, how is the market doing today? They look at these three indexes. And the S&P 500 is basically the top 500 companies in the United States at the time. The SEC is like the stock market police. They regulate who comes in and out of the S&P 500. So the 500 companies that sit in the S&P 500, they don't just sit there and they're just like it, because companies, tank, or companies, don't do what they have to do, and you got to replace them and go in and out. And so the most recent replacement was Exxon for Tesla. I think that happened in December. So that's the S&P 500. And then there's the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ is just a group of companies that are tech-based. So it's all tech, mostly tech companies. And then you have the Dow, which is tech-based also, but it's only your top 30 influential tech companies. And so these three indexes are what people use to kind of judge how the market is moving. And you could judge it against, you could use these three indexes to judge how you're doing in your performance and your portfolio. It's just basically a just general thing of how the stock market is moving.
I'm sorry, Kels. I'll read it for you. What are the different types of goals that one might have that correlates with the different type of accounts to invest in? For instance, what goals would fit better with having a Roth IRA versus having a brokerage account? You had mentioned it before, like if you want to buy a house, then that's Roth. Something. If you're trying to do something sooner, then you're looking at a brokerage account. So if you could go over that one.
So like, I have all of those accounts. I have a traditional IRA that I told you, like, my financial advisor, he still manages that for me. Then I have my account at work. Then I have my Roth IRA, which I don't plan to touch that money. That's like for retirement. And then I have two brokerage accounts. Like one is for like my immediate goals in like the next 5 years, like buying a house, like, weddings, this and that. Like like the short term, I'll have a brokerage account for that. Long term, I'll have another brokerage account for like, paying off debt, doing this. Like, so it just depends on what you have going on. I just say that if you're gonna put your money into the Roth IRA, just know you can't touch it until retirement. So what's better, an IRA or a CD? A CD is kind of like you put the money in. I mean, your IRA you can invest stocks in, so you can have the opportunity to make a lot of more percentage gains on your account versus a CD, which gives you 2.5% on the money that you put in, or whatever that is. I mean, depending on the investments you do, you can blow beyond 2.5%, I hope that answered that question. Like, a CD account is kind of saying, it's kind of like a bond. It's like, I'm going to give the bank $10,000, and the bank promises me that they're going to give me back $10,000 with 2.5% on the return, where I could invest in Apple, Microsoft, whatever, and make 10% on my money, or 30% or 100% on my money. So I would say a stock, a Roth IRA, because you can invest stocks in it. Of course, it's more risky, but that's just the I mean, when I go over looking over how to make an informed decision on the investments, then it becomes less risky. But an IRA versus a CD account, the IRA is definitely a little bit more risky if you're going to be buying stocks in your IRA.
Is there a time limit that you can have money in your brokerage accounts?
What is that? A time limit? Like,
what do you mean by that, Audrey?
So I was asking, like, is there a maximum amount of time that you can have the money in there and then you have to kind of pull it out, or you can have it there as long as you want? Okay.
You can have that there as long as you want. It's like a checking account. You can have it there as long as you want. When you're ready to pull that bread, you pull that bread.
But and pull without penalty, or?
Yeah, without penalty. The brokerage account is like whatever you want to do.
Okay.
So I have my brokerage account I have two brokerage accounts, and one is for like short term, like I want to buy a house and do these things, and I'm going to use my investments to do that. So I have it in the brokerage account.
But I guess I'm going to read to add to what Kels is saying in terms of no penalties or time limits. I guess when you're pulling out your money from the brokerage account, understand that if it's already tied up in stocks, you then have to sell it at whatever those stocks are selling at. So it might not be the best price.
Oh, yeah. So, if you're going to buy stocks in your brokerage account, when you want to pull the money out, you have to sell the stocks. So, you would have to be a little bit strategic if you need the money to sell on the day that the stock is high, to sell on the day that the stock is trading very high. So you get your gains that you want to get. You don't want to sell when the stock is trading low and it's, and you're leaving money on the table,
Mm-hmm. So yes, I'll share a screen. Like maybe if at the end you can show them the difference between a stock that's selling high or low. Like we'll pick a stock.
Oh yeah.
Like just the basic.
Ask me about that. Yeah.
Yeah, just a basic stock chart so you guys can see and she'll explain to you what exactly is going with the chart for that stock specifically. Raquel asks, how does your Roth IRA grow if the cap is 6,000 for the year?
Oh, you invest.
Mm-hmm.
or there's certain I wasn't gonna get into this. You can roll over money into your Roth IRA. So there's like a backdoor rollover where you have like money at an old job and it's just sitting there. You can roll it over into your Roth IRA. So that's how you could kind of gain like I had a pension at my old job. I rolled it over into my Roth IRA and I had capital there. And so on top of the capital I had there, I was able to also put in $6,000 for the year. But think about it, like you put $6,000, even just putting $6,000 a year into your account and you invest it in whatever companies you want, you're essentially like you're not doing any work and you're making gains on your money.
For me.
What happened?
I'm sorry. Hold on. Were you asking a question?
Oh, sorry.
No, somebody spoke. Let me put this. Okay, so if you guys aren't asking a question, please put your screens on mute. Zoila asked, can you have different Roth IRA accounts opened?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. But like I mentioned before, you can't put $6,000 in each one. Like it's $6,000 total. You'll definitely be penalized for it when you do your taxes. So I would say just to have one, but people can open as much Roth IRA accounts as they want. And I hope I answered Rock's question before.
So invest, Rock. You want that money to grow, you invest.
Yeah.
All right.
It's like a good way to beat inflation. Like that's the only way you can make your money grow to exponential ways other than like, doing a SUSU or putting it into a CD account. You're just not going to get that kind of return like you do in the stock market. What's the next question?
It says, can you invest with your Roth IRA and your regular bank account at the same time? I'll let you.
So your regular bank account, you can't. You need a brokerage account to invest in stocks. So if you want if you want to invest in stocks, you don't have to do it in a Roth IRA, but you would need a brokerage account.
Shakima asks, are brokerage accounts short-term only?
No, they're not short-term, they're long-term. Like it's basically no stipulation. It's like having your checking account, right? That you could invest in stocks as much as you want. You could put as much money as you want in it. The only thing is that when you're selling your stocks in there, you're going to be taxed on the money. But it works just like a checking account, if that makes sense. Like there's no stipulations in it. You can have it as long as you want, as short as you want. You can pull the money today. If I wanted money, I could sell my stocks in my brokerage account and take the money and take the money, take the cash and do what I have to do with it. That's where compared to a Roth IRA now, I'm going to be penalized for taking the money before retirement. And I'm going to be penalized before taking the money before retirement. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to leave any money on the table.
Hold on. There's two other questions. I think in terms of short term, what Kelly was saying, if that wasn't the answer to your question, your brokerage accounts, you can have multiple, but we designate each one for a certain thing. Like she said, so one account short term is something that for projects that she has within the next upcoming 5 years. So that's a short term. Long term, which is a whole separate account, would be something she's doing within 20, 30 years from now. Retirement.
Oh, so I just separated out because I'm organized like that. You don't have to do it. If you want to have one brokerage account and you're like, I know I'm going to put this money here, I know I'm going to put that money there, that's fine. I just designate the accounts for different things. So I just keep stuff separate. You don't have to do that at all. I just emphasize to tell you that you can open as much accounts as you want. There's no limit or cap to it.
Okay, so that answered. Next question from Colleen. How do you get a brokerage account? Sorry, was late on the meeting.
Okay. So
she was just getting into that.
So just like I had mentioned, like where do you get a brokerage account? So it's any trading platform, your TD Ameritrade, your JP Morgan Chase, your Charles Schwab's, your Fidelity, Vanguard, E-Trade. What else is there? I
is it Robinhood?
Robinhood. Oh yeah, Robinhood is a newer one. Your Goldman Sachs. You could trade on any of those platforms. They have brokerage accounts. You just have to ask for it.
Okay. After that, is there a minimum amount of money needed to start a brokerage account?
Nope. Now I can speak for E-Trade. You don't need no money to open an account. You can just open it. But if you feel like putting money in there, you can. But I can't speak on every other platform.
Hold on. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna stop sharing real quick, only so I can mute all of you.
Okay. I want to get to the other stuff too. So I'm gonna continue, and then I'll answer the other questions at the end.
Okay, yeah. So we'll finish all these, and then I'm gonna stop.
Is there more questions? Is there more?
No, but I want you to be able to go through it so that way you're not stopping, and then we'll answer all your questions based on what Kel's asked. Well, Kel's presented.
So I went over the indexes and kind of you judge how the market is moving from those three main indexes. And I also want to mention that there's hundreds of indexes. So if you go onto any of your platform, like I think Apple has like a stock thing, and you can see all the indexes, but those are the three main ones that you'll hear that people, follow. And so why do companies go public? Why do companies go on the stock market? They just go on it for money. So they need money and they need your money. And so in replacement for your money, you get piece of ownership into their business. And so, when you buy a stock, you're essentially buying ownership into the business. And so that's basically why companies go on the public market and present themselves to everybody to trade. And so I want to talk about like the two type of investors there are. And as you go, you can be a little bit of both, but I kind of wanted to explain like how dividends work and stuff like that. So there are growth investors and there are valued investors. And so value investors are investors who kind of focus on dividends. And so basically these grandfather like companies like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Johnson & Johnson, as an incentive to their investors, they say like, thank you for investing into my company. They give you, their investors, a percentage of their profit. So it's $2, $3, it depends on the company. They give you a percentage of their profit. And the good thing with dividends is that essentially you could get to a point where you invest enough into the company, you could use the dividends that they pay you and buy more stock into the company, and then essentially keep growing your money and making your money work for you like that. And so that's like a more valued investor. They kind of focus on the dividend play. They want dividends, and then the dividends buy back more stock into the company. Then you have your growth investors, and they're kind of focusing on, growing exponentially. So you're kind of like your Amazon, your Apple, your Tesla. Those are growth stocks. And I say growth stocks just because they have the potential to, grow exponentially. Like this is just the start of what they're about to do. And basically why growth stocks don't, and because growth stocks don't offer dividends does not mean that it's a bad company. It's basically a newer company. It's like a teenager. It's not like a grandfather, like Coca-Cola. It's new. And so what they do is they use their profits and they put the profits back into the company. And they invest in technology or, artificial intelligence, and they do all these things and use their profits for that. So just because just because they don't offer dividends doesn't mean that it's a bad company. I just want to emphasize that. So you'll hear some people say like value investor or growth, and that's basically the meaning behind it. And so it gets down to how to pick a stock. So I told you the platform, where to do it, to get it. You could choose any platform you want. I have E-Trade. I do have Robinhood because it's so easy to use. But as I started to trade the larger amounts of money, I started to use just more reputable. I wouldn't say Robinhood is not reputable. It's still growing. It's really new. So I use more like, I don't know the word for it, older companies to invest the money. So how do you pick a stock? So I would say, like I started, like whoever was there for the beginning of my speech, I when I jumped into the market last year, I did companies that I knew. So it was like Disney, Apple, Uber, Facebook. And so that's where I would start. If you want to kind of figure out what do I use? Like, what do you use? So and invest in those companies, have ownership in those companies. You're using the company, let them pay you for using it. So I want kind of how I tell people how to consider, like how to look at a company. It's kind of like, look at yourself. Like we go to work, we provide a service, our job pays us, we pay our debt, we pay our taxes, we invest. And those are basically the key points on what a good company looks like. You want to look at the company's revenue, that they're growing in revenue. And I think maybe like we'll have another stock show.
Yeah, we will.
And then I could go into like, I could go and show people like the technicals and stuff, but I'm just saying this to you, and I can do it again where I can show people. But I kind of want you to think about looking into a good company. It's like, does the company have debt? And it's not, is it bad debt? Like, are they not paying their debt? Is it growing? Or is it going down? Like you can look on Yahoo Finance. It's a free platform. That's what I use. And I kind of look at the companies like cash flow sheet, balance sheet, and I think balance and investment sheet, and kind of see how the company is looking. And those are the things I look for. Does the company have cash? Like, if you ask your friend to, borrow if somebody asks me to borrow $100, I'm like, well, I hope she have a savings account so she could pay me back if something happens. Like, and so it's the same thing, like how you think about your company. You want to make sure the company has liquid cash, that if stuff happens like Corona, they have an emergency fund and that they could cover their debt. And so those are the things that you look for when you look into a company. So you are essentially a company, and what makes you a good company makes these big companies a good company. And so people are like, all right, so I'm good. I got I've saved a little bit of money. I'm ready to buy. I want to buy Amazon. Amazon is $3,000. Okay, a share. So it's like, okay, I can't afford that, right? So they have ETFs, they have exchange traded funds where you can get exposure to Amazon. So basically an exchange traded fund has a conglomerate of companies within the stock, right? You own, within that stock, you own multiple companies in it. And the good thing with exchange traded funds, ETFs, is that you can have exposure to your favorite companies without paying your favorite company price. And so, you know, if you don't have money for Amazon, you can go and look into an ETF. You can Google all of this. You could go and look into an ETF that has Amazon exposure in it. And I believe and also the companies you don't just like type in the company name, they go off of tickers. So like ETF ticker would be QQQ, and it has Apple, Microsoft, Google, and all these things. And if you're into tech and you want to follow tech, then that's a good company to get in. So I just wanted to, you know, differentiate the fact that you don't have to buy individual stocks. You can go into ETFs and get exposure to, you know, companies that you like without paying that price. And also the difference between ETFs, there's differences between ETFs. There's equally weighted, which means that each company that's in there is an equal percentage of it's an equal percentage of exposure into that company. So there's 2% Amazon, 2% Google, 2% Apple, 2% Tesla, or you can get non-equally weighted ETFs where it's like 10% Amazon, 5% Tesla, 2% Apple. And so it just depends on what you are looking to invest in after you did your research, or whatever companies that you believe in, Roblox, or you believe in whatever you want that exposure. You can look into the ETFs that suit your needs. And I believe that's it.
Okay. So no questions so far, but I do recognize that this is a lot of information.
Yeah,
a lot of
it is.
information just to hear. So I'm actually I'm gonna exit out of here and show you guys. Let me stop share. We'll go into Yahoo Finance and I'll show you guys an example, and Kels can kind of speak through exactly what she was saying.
Yes.
So that it might be easier for you all to see. So I'll use Yahoo Finance, Kels.
Okay.
What company should we do? AMD?
Okay, yeah, we can do AMD.
All right, so I'll start from the beginning so you can see exactly what we do. Okay, share. All right, so Yahoo Finance, free. You can sign in. Up here, you should know the ticker to your companies. You can type in the full names, but these 3 to whatever number of letters are what the stocks go by. So you should know whatever company it is that you're looking for, you should know this. So in terms of what Kels was talking about, this is the chart that we use when we're speaking about technical analysis. So what do you want to explain on this one, Kels? I guess you can go in terms of
back out a little bit. Actually, I want go back to where get out of the chart. But I want to show them the financial sheet.
All right.
So you go to the financials, yeah, right there.
Right there. And then balance sheet is right there.
Right. So it'll tell you if you just click on it, Sahami, sorry. So like you'll see your total assets. I mean, it's a lot of information there, but usually you could just try to find what the information that you need. So the total revenue is on top. And then you could see over the 2017, 2018, 2019, it's growing. Then if you go to, the income, where are you at?
Balance sheet.
Oh, okay, so then the cash flow.
All right, total assets, current assets. Here we go, cash.
If you go down, because it should have liquid cash, it should just have go down all the way. Sorry.
Where do you want me to go?
Total debt.
Okay.
You look at the debt that it's going down over the years, 2017, 2018, 2019. Your income statement, I don't think you touched on the income statement.
No. We can go back though.
And then it has your total revenue. And as
Which
you
is
can
this
see,
right here?
it's growing. Yeah. There's a lot of information there. This is just the basics. You don't have to get too crazy with everything else. And then if you come out, I'll go over. You come out of the financials and you go back to the chart like you were.
Okay, just go back.
And you go to the 1 year view. That's the 1 year. That's AMD.
Yeah, this is AMD for 1
Oh,
year.
okay. So kind of you see how the movement of the chart is going up. That's kind of like a healthy company. Showing you that it's a healthy company. AMD, like if you go right there, like right before that hike, go back, like but that dip. This is the 1 year chart, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this was COVID.
Yeah, last year.
Okay, all right. So yeah, so then you see the spike and then it kind of went back up. All right, so yeah, this is basically how a healthy chart looks. It's kind of going up. I want to give an example of a non-healthy chart.
It's Pfizer? No, I'm kidding.
No, oh damn girl, don't do that. Let's do, what did I do? Kodak.
Oh, you didn't have to do that. Or Kodak. You want me to go into the chart or the financial?
You could go into the chart. I could just show you that it's like not good.
Or GameStop, AMC.
Or GameStop or AMC. So Kodak. All right. So basically, there's nothing going on with this chart. It does have this spike, right? But it's not going up. It's not trending up. This is basically Kodak last year said that they were given the grant. They were told they were going to turn from a camera company to a pharmaceutical company, right? So retail investors jumped in on it, and basically institutional investors took profit and just let it drop, and kind of that's what happened. But this is not a healthy chart, basically.
What do you mean by institutional investors? They don't know that one.
Oh, okay. So institutional investors are like your banks, your hedge funds, your mutual funds. Like, so it's not an equal playing field on the stock market. They have certain privileges that we as retail investors don't have. As far as trading goes, there's just certain things that they can do, like inside, and certain things that we're not privy to, like what they're trading, insider trading, and things like that. So they do have leverage in the stock market and can manipulate how stocks move to an extent. But yeah, that's what I mean by institutional investors. Banks,
people within the actual company. When Kelly says that insider, certain platforms like this MarketWatch, you can pay to get like the latest news, what's going on. I'm trying to see who has insider trading. Let's look again, the same company.
And like the next time like we do this, I could go into more depth. I feel like just knowing where to open up the accounts, what the accounts mean, and starting that, and have savings ready to execute stocks, because you don't want to use your emergency fund to invest. Like, this is money that you're okay with saying, if you lose it, you're okay with it. I mean, you're not gonna lose it. But well, I don't know what you're gonna, I don't know. But I'm not a guru, but I would just say with the proper, research, and with the proper research into the market, you should not, lose it. But you don't want to be investing money that you need to pay your rent with, or you need to do things with. You have to be comfortable with essentially saying, I might lose the money.
Okay, so again, this was a lot of information. I'm definitely gonna have Kel's back to sort of break it down from beginning to end. But
no, then I'll go deeper. Like, I don't want to overwhelm, because I could go crazy deep, and it's just this, and what I gave already was a lot, and I don't want to overwhelm anybody, because I could go tumble down a rabbit hole.
Are there any specific questions in terms of what Kel has spoken about? Do you need me to put up the things that we went over in terms of Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs, where you can open up a brokerage account, what's the max, what's the minimum amount? I know that's a general question, like what's the least amount of money I can open a brokerage account?
You don't, I had mentioned that well, for E-Trade, you don't need a minimum, like there's no minimum to open the account. You can open it and let it just sit there.
Okay, Colleen,
until you're
I'm sorry, go ahead, Kels.
Until you're ready to put it in. I don't know about other platforms because I only use E-Trade. I have some money in Robinhood, but yeah, essentially all my money is in E-Trade.
Okay, so I'm going to read Colleen's questions, and Audrey, I see that your hand is up. Colleen asks, what are some good books to help review the basics so we're ready for the next session?
I mentioned Women and Money by Susie Orman is really good. Like, from what I remember, she really broke down how the stock market worked, and it sparked my interest. Kind of explained what I said, like how bonds work, how stocks work, why the equities like risk, why are they riskier than, why do people think they're riskier than stocks? Like, she breaks down the basics, and it's pretty like layman's terms. As far as you want to get a little bit more in depth, it's a bigger book, but Money Master the Game by Tony Robinson is really good. I actually listened to it on audio because it's really big, but he goes in depth about everything, and it's really good. Your Money or Your Life is really good. I forget the author's name, and it really talks about like how to like save your money, how to make your money work for you, like how to budget, how to create a budget for yourself. That it's all about sacrificing a little bit now for how you want to live later. And essentially, my sacrifice is that my kids don't have to work if they don't want to. Like, that's my goal. My kids don't have to work if they don't want to. They can be creatives and they can do whatever they want to do. And so I'm willing to put myself on a budget now for the long term. And it all depends on what your goals are and stuff like that. But Your Money or Your Life is really good. It kind of really like opens your mind to see like how much money has like escaped our hands, right? That we didn't even realize. How many things do we have in our house that we don't even use and it's not even making us money, Another one I like is The Intelligent Investor, but it's very dense. So if you're just starting, I wouldn't suggest that book. Also, I listen to podcasts too, like people sharing their stories. Like, I'm sharing mine now. It's like, what's that podcast? I think it's called Journey to Launch. She has so many different people talking about, how they stopped working at 35, how they, on a teacher salary, how they left their job and opened up this business or that business. And so those are the books that I could think of the top of my head. And I could share with Sahami more once I look back on it. But those are the ones that really stood out, that really like had me shift things that I was doing in my own life.
Okay, Audrey, what was your question?
I wanted to know if there was a recommendation that you had as far as you wanted to get started with investing with stocks and pieces like that, as far as like an amount to get started with, or does that again depend on like what your goals are? Or
oh no, so I would say 500. Like, that's a good amount that you can buy. You could buy at least two stocks with $500 or ETF. I would say 500. But that's why I say even too, like, putting aside some savings towards, execute, like, if, studying the market, kind of learning how the market works, and seeing the prices, like what are the prices of the companies that you're interested in, right? And then now you have a goal in your head, like, all right, so Apple is like 125 right now, so all right, if I put aside 250, I could buy two or three shares like next week. And so kind of looking into the market and seeing what the prices of the companies that you're interested in, because they vary, because like Apple is like 125 and Amazon's $3,000. So but I would say 500. I started with 500 when I dipped into the market in last year.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any other questions in terms of stocks. Again, I know it's a lot of information. We will definitely be having a part 2 to sort of go over some more technical things that you need to look at. Ju Lin asked, can you switch your traditional IRA to a Roth IRA?
You, I don't, I think you can. I think you can roll over the money in there, but don't quote me. I would ask your tax person on that. I think you have to roll it over into another traditional IRA because again, with the taxes, you want to pay close attention to that. But I don't know the specifics on that. I don't want to lie.
Okay, so yeah, so we'll follow up with that. In terms of savings, oh, all the books that Kelly's mentioning, I do have a post that I'm going to put up on the check-in. It'll have more books that she didn't actually mention on top of the ones that she did, and I'll try to add the first one she said because I don't think it's on our posts, but great
Oh
savings.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, the first one, the money.
Yeah, I don't think I.
No, you
Sorry.
didn't add that, but I'll add it to I do all the editing afterwards and any information that I feel that we needed. Again, this whole recording will be available on my website because Instagram does not allow me to post up until a certain point. So I uploaded to awareness.com. Just go to the tab, go to the check-in, and the whole video will be there. But in terms of savings, really great apps that help you with savings are Capital with a Q, Qapital, and
Hmm.
Acorns.
Yeah.
Capital I like because it lets you set multiple um sort of goals. So I have one for like saving for a house, saving to go away. Like it lets you create all different types of rules for each goal. So if you want to round up to $2 every time you swipe your debit card, because it is connected to your checking or whatever card you connect it to. So every time you swipe it, if it's like $1.57, then the change is going to go into the account. If you want to save $1 corresponding to the week that you're on. So if you're on week 3 of the year, it's saving $3. You're on week 50 of the week, it's saving $50. If you just want to save $50 every 2 weeks. So whatever goal you have and whatever rule, it lets you set that aside, which is why I really love it. And you don't realize, especially when it's just taking change out. So most of the time,
It's true. It's
yeah,
true. I went in there, I was like, oh my gosh,
I
I
know.
got
I've
money.
started a couple of my friends on it, and I'm telling you,
Yeah, I like it. And then I took the money and I invested
see, you don't even realize that it's being done because it's such small amounts that by the time you look at it again, it's wow, like it's several hundreds. Like I've definitely have one for I just let it take out $10, $12 here and there. And if I ever have an emergency or I just don't want to use the money that's in my regular checking, I'll just pull from there opposed to having to use money that I don't want to use. Acorns is another good one. It actually lets you start a Roth IRA in there. It also lets you
Oh,
start if you have
good.
children, it lets you start an account for them in terms of savings. And another thing that I like about them is that you can go into the actual app and different places that you're used to buying from, you can buy through Acorns and they will give you a percentage back. So if you use Uber Eats, your FSA card, I'll go through them to order and it'll give me 2% back. Nike, it has so many different companies associated with. All you do is go through the app, go into the website, and whatever your bill is at the end, there's a certain percentage that the company is now paying back to you, and it'll go into
Yeah.
your savings account. So those are the two main ones that I use in terms of just set it and forget it.
And I would mention something even about credit cards too. It's like use like you make your credit cards work for you. Like
Oh
go
yeah.
to credit cards that have points and use them. And I've paid for vacations with points. Like use your credit card and make your credit cards work for you. If you have to use the credit card, at least make sure it's giving you points and you could literally book a vacation, book a trip or whatever. Because it adds up too.
For I think we all have credit cards. To piggyback off of what Kelly's saying, check to see if your credit card has an upgrade because they will not call you and tell you most of the time that you have an upgrade. It's not until you call and start asking questions that they'll let you know. Like my Capital One card, I've had it for since I was like 18 and they never upgraded. It wasn't until every time I called, they would say, oh, you're actually eligible for this. Oh, you're actually eligible for that. So now it's at a point where, I thought I had it with me, but it's a travel card. So every time I swipe my card, I'm earning money. I'm earning money and I'm earning points in terms of that.
I
And
just saw a question about should I invest in one main stock or like mutual
multiple
funds? So
or multiple.
or multiple.
Mhm.
Um if you I mentioned ETFs, and so they have multiple companies within it. And so if an ETF like SPY, which is kind of like an ETF that has the companies of the S&P 500 in it, you have the top 500 companies in one ETF, and all you have to do is buy that ETF. I would start off with owning the ETF, because you have multiple pieces of each company versus having just one company. But again, it's all your decision and how you want to invest. But starting off, I would definitely probably do like a ETF, because you own multiple companies within that ETF. So
Okay, so Kelly mentioned SPY. We support ARC around here. So
oh,
we
sorry, yes,
would.
ARK Invest. I
ARK
was
Invest.
trying to correlate the
Okay.
S&P 500
All right,
with
those are the grandfather ones. They're slow. They're, yes, they're guaranteed money, but they're extremely slow money. They've always been around. They're ancient. They go by. We need
yes.
to be looking towards the future. Okay,
Okay,
do your due diligence, do your research, but look into ARK Invest. She's
right.
so the tech and disruptive innovation. What is the next thing that we as human beings are going to look at? Electric cars, Tesla, the man who's trying to basically get us to Mars. Like all these are forward-thinking companies.
Artificial intelligence.
So
And I
these
do, and I do want to mention that if you're going to invest, unless you're going to be like a swing trader, you want to think about having the money sit for at least 5 years, like where you really see gains, where you really see return on your investment. Yeah, I think she asked that. Yeah, where you really see return on your investment, at least make your investment sit for 5 years. That's unless you want to turn into a swing trader and you're doing day trades, and that's a totally different ball game. And I don't do that. So what I would say is that something to keep in mind too is to really see your pop. Like this is just to tell you, is it 20? I believe it was 2000. Amazon. I forget what Amazon was trading at in 2000, or did it IPO? I don't want to lie, but so over, if you own Amazon when it first came onto the stock market, now you're like a millionaire, right? Because now the stock is $3,000, and so you just, at least to really see the growth in your money, you at least want to let it sit for at least 5 years. Yeah.
Mhm.
And if you have kids, oh, I stress this like no other. Open up custodial accounts for your kids. The same platforms that you can open up the brokerage account, that you can open up the Roth IRA, you can open up custodial accounts for your kids. And like I said, there's the two main differences, that one they can use solely for education and one they can use for whatever. But imagine you put $100 a month or $100 every 2 weeks into your kids' account, and at the end, when they're 18, they have $1 million, like, just to do whatever they want with it, because you invested in it. So just to think about like changing the landscape, just to change the landscape of how we invest and how we think about money, and starting our kids off early. Because I know for my parents, they're first generation. I'm first generation here. They weren't born in this country, and so their idea was, my dad, he's like a businessman, but I took it to the next level. They taught me how to save and how to manage money like that. And then I took it to the next level, and I'm investing and doing that. And like now sitting back and watching the gains happen without having to work for it.
Any other questions that Kelly can actually answer and it won't confuse you in any type of way without going
I'm
into
sorry. Do you think it was confusing?
No, I mean, I don't, but you've already taught this to me. It's just a lot in general in
I
terms of
know.
stocks.
I
Because again,
hope
this
that
is
I
money.
was okay.
Yes, it's just in general. I don't want you ladies to feel like it's too much, it's too overwhelming. Both Kelly and I are working on an ebook where all this information is going to be available to you. It'll be on my website as soon as it's done. I'll promote it. It'll be there. So don't get.
And I'm on Instagram. You can ask me. I post stock stuff basically all day, every day. So you could ask me there too. Oh, what's my Instagram?
Kellogg's _.
Yes.
So notes will be bulleted. So I'm not gonna have exact notes, because again, that's a lot of information. So it'll mostly all be in the ebook once we put that out, and you can download it from my website. It will be a truncated version of this. The whole, for those who are here, again, it's all going to be on my website. So if you want to go back and rewatch this and make, you can pause and play and all that. So it'll be easier for you to digest and see if any of the questions you had were already answered in what Kelly said. So that'll be available to you as well. Understand. Okay, so good. Any other questions before we move on? I didn't realize it would be so much information because I get excited about stocks now that I understand what I'm doing. So I'm like, oh, it won't be too bad. But this was a lot of information.
I know, and that's what. Oh my God, I'm sorry.
But I don't want us to. If I have someone around that understands something that I feel can give us as women or as Black people a leg up, Black, Latinas, because it's all of us. If I feel like someone around me can help us give a leg up or help us understand something we should be in, I'm always going to bring them on, and I'll try to make it as digestible as possible in edits and all of this. But I don't want us just stuck where we are now. There's so much room for growth. I think Corona, it was great, not too much. Okay, good. Just okay. Thanks, Shantae. Thanks, Julin. We're trying. We're really trying. My whole point is to break generational curses, which is why I wore my awareness tee today that says it, because I feel like this was really great and informative. Understood. Okay, yay! Oh, you guys, yay! I'm so
She's
happy.
not done. She's gonna tell you how to open up an LLC so you could write.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm sitting here because it's again. All right, so
it was so much. I know. I'm sorry. But now she's gonna tell you how to open up the LLC so you could write off your stuff, girl.
There you go.
On.
So once you ladies make all this money, which we all will in stocks, yes, because we're doing the research, we're understanding where we're going. It's not just blindly picking things that we hear about. We're gonna need ways to keep as much of that money as we can to ourselves, within our family, within our own bank accounts, and not let Uncle Sam take too much of it. How do you do that? Through ownership. So I'm going to speak more in terms of starting an LLC versus a PLLC, because really that's where you're going to get your most tax breaks. So let's go into that. Any questions? Again, feel free to ask on the side. Let me get out of stocks and go into that instead. Share my screen with all of you ladies. Okay, let's go back into present mode. So starting your LLC, PLLC. Introduction in terms of who I am. For those who don't know me, my name is Sahami Pinard. I am a psychiatric nurse practitioner by day, mental health advocate 24/7, basically. So for me, in terms of starting Awareness LLC, which branched off to this for you ladies, which is the check-in, and I also have a high school and junior high school group called The Outlet, where again, younger women, younger girls are able to voice their frustration, speak about mental health issues. All of that came from my why. When I ask what your why is, you should know exactly why you're starting your LLC. It's not just because you want to make money. It's not just because you want some write-offs, because it's not always going to be great days. There's going to be days you take hits. There's going to be days you're frustrated. There's going to be a lot of days you're losing sleep. So you need to hold on to why you started when those days happen, because it's not all smiles. It's not all people clapping for you and thanking you. It's definitely not that, especially not in the beginning phases when no one knows what you're working on, but you're still losing sleep and you're still putting in just as much work, if not more, to get your dream up and running. Before you start, you need, this is my book, this is my notebook. This is where I started. I made sure I had it. And I had like SNP written all over it, simply because I swore the name was going to be SPNP, because those are my titles. But as I began to write out different things, as I began to go through a lot of different avenues in terms of resources, mentors, listening to YouTube videos on how to start your LLC and what websites to go to in terms of filling out forms and fees, I realized, okay, again, this is a lot of information. And just like you ladies did, I had to write it down so I can digest it, go back and see what it is I need to do. So when I say write it down, I literally mean write it down. Have a notebook, time and date your things, your ideas, because sometimes you may have an idea at the moment, but it doesn't come into fruition till like months later. There are ideas and events that I wanted to start 2019 when I first got the idea for awareness, and I'm now seeing it in 2021 or 2019. I might have completely forgotten about it, but it's there and I can go back and I'm like, oh, okay, because at times you get frustrated, like, I have this idea, it's not coming out the way I want, and later down you realize, okay, at least it finally came out. It actually came out when it was supposed to. So for me, let me see, scheduling your time. There's going to be a lot of time schedules. um Luckily enough, right now I'm in a position at my job where I'm now feeling comfortable as a nurse practitioner, so I can multitask when I need to. So if there are things I need to do on my breaks or in between, I'm able to do. But in the beginning, this took hours every single day. So I would be coming home from a hectic day of work as a brand new nurse practitioner, and then sitting down in front of my computer trying to schedule an appointment with a mentor and find out what are the websites in terms of mental health that are out there, what is missing. For me, in terms of what was missing, was that I didn't see enough resources for my people in the community. I would have a young Black man come into my office talking about he can't get to his GED course, he can't get to have a suit to go to a job interview, and he's in a shelter, and it just seems everything was against him, really. And I would know the resources, but I didn't have enough time after a 45-minute evaluation to then sit there for another 30, 45 minutes with him to tell him, listen, go here, try this, do that. I would have to move on to the next patient. So for me, it wasn't enough. So that's where awareness started. Let me just create a place where they can just go to one place and they can find out this information. So scheduling your time, whether it's 2, 3 hours every single day, and be dedicated to that. Email, you should have a complete separate email address for your business. You don't want it entangled with your regular, because it's going to start to become a lot. And you already have all your Amazon packages coming to that email, whatever promos and parties you signed up off of Eventbrite, all of that is coming to that same email. So you don't want to have to sift through that when a client or a patient is coming to you and like, oh, I sent this to you, and now you got to go through all of that. Start your email before you even do anything else. So that way, all business information, all business interaction is funneled to that one. Building your website, that I actually started before I even got my LLC. So it's up to you, because I didn't realize the potential or growth of where I wanted to take awareness. I literally just wanted a site that I can send people to, where the resource and information that I felt they need would help them. So as I built that, I realized, okay, this has the potential to be more than this. So that's when I ended up creating my LLC. So it's up to you how you do it. That part I don't think is really it's person specific at that point, because maybe you don't need a website to start up. Maybe you just need to have your Instagram up and going and start doing Facebook ads. So again, it's a lot to go through, which is why you have to write down, what is the goal of this LLC? What is it that you want it to grow to 5 to 10 years from now? Walk through. Let me see. Hold on. I see some questions. I'm sorry, I can't see the chat as I'm speaking. Let's go through. Okay. All right, good. How do you, oh, wait, Kay Wallace, how do you open a custodial? Oh, Kels, we're gonna go through all that. We'll try to round it up real quick. But again, everything's gonna be.
I'm answering them as they ask.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I want to stop sharing this part. And I want you ladies to actually just walk through where you would go in terms of finding the forms that you need to start your LLC. So this is businessexpress.newyork.gov. This is where we go. Mine is already in, so I'll go to my dashboard. Up top are your different tabs. It lets you create a custom checklist. If you don't know exactly what you need in terms of starting your business, it'll ask you so many different questions. Is this a new business? So just to go through a basic run through for me. So whatever your industry is, they basically have every single one. Nurse, do you want to add? If you're a brand new business, it's only one, you're saying no. Primary business, we'll just pick Albany because it's right on top. I only operate mainly in Brooklyn, so I don't even add to. You're not adding anything. Again, just it literally does all of this for you. Because I know there are places such as LegalZoom that charge you to do these, but really, if you take some time to just read through the things, it is a lot. But if you take the time to read through it and understand what it's asking you, I always feel it's better because at least then you know the bare bones of your company and what it takes to run it, as opposed to just having to wait for someone else to come on and explain things to you that you've paid all the way in the beginning. Now it's 2-3 months down the line and you're trying to think, okay, how do I work this out? So when you know the foundation of your business and the foundation of the legal work aspect, even if it's not extensive, but at least some, then it'll better prepare you for any hiccups that might come around down the line. So again, questions: do you have full-time employees? All of these. I'm just putting no just for the extent of time because it can really go extensive. Like, just seriously, so many easy questions. And it doesn't take long. Like, I'm doing this as I'm talking to all of you only because I've been through it. And then it asks you, do you want to download? You download your checklist, open, and tells you basically every single thing that you need to know or do for this business that you answered the questions to. Outside of that, let me see if it lets me log in. So I'll go with this one because I never went through with it. Okay, so it starts off here. Please have several different names that you want in mind in terms of your LLC, only because if somebody else already has it, you can't get it. Try to Google the name that you like to see. If somebody is using it, but it's not registered, this site will let you know. So this is one of the names I had already picked out to try, and it checks it for you and lets you know, okay, it's available. So you can move on. And then again, same questions. Where are you operating? Is this the name of your LLC? Your address, place of service, a registered agent you're gonna need as well. They literally don't do anything. It's just a place that most of your legal documents will get sent to, and they'll let you know that it's there. But for whatever reason, New York State says you have to have a registered agent, so you do. I currently use Northwest Registered Agent, and they're about $125 a year for each business that you have. So currently I have 2 businesses, so I'm paying $250 a year for them. And they really don't do anything but just to have on your records stating that you have a registered agent. Again, just more questions about your limit of liability. Once you certify everything that you've done is okay, they'll ask you for your address, whoever filled this out. And again, the importance of having a separate email for your businesses, just so all this information can start going there instead of trying to funnel it out after. This you download as soon as you're done. As soon as you pay, you have your article of organization. It's there. Last but not least, it asks you, do you just want a plain copy mailed to you? Do you want a certified copy? I always go with the certified copy because certain things that you need to submit these copies for may require a certified copy. So it's always better to have it than not. You can order all 3. You can order just one. So it's really up to you. What is it that you need it for? And then last but not least, your payment. This payment is strictly for New York. If you're not in New York, I don't know the fees. So you would have to go to your Business Express site for that state, and it'll tell you how much it is. And that's basically it in terms of starting your LLC. Another requirement that New York has is that you publish it in a weekly newspaper for 6 weeks and a daily newspaper for 6 weeks. Brooklyn and Manhattan are some of the most expensive to do this. It can run up to 1,000 and change in terms of doing it. A way around that is to pick Albany. Like, say that you're running your company from like Albany. Albany is cheaper. Like all the way, all the cities upstate, they're cheaper, and running your ad through them is cheaper. When I originally started, I did it with Albany, and it was $43 for one and like 36 for another. And all they do is just print a little ad that states, this person has started their LLC. This is what it does. And it's like maybe 7 sentences, a small box that they run. And then they send you a certificate stating that this has ran in their paper for 6 weeks on a daily basis or a weekly basis. And here it is. And then you can present it to New York State. Again, if you're doing Brooklyn, I would suggest you do Brooklyn. If you do wherever you are, just try to look for the newspaper there and then do that. Your EIN, which is your federal tax number, you also need, but please do not get scammed in terms of paying for your EIN. An EIN number is free. You can Google it. I started to do it, but it doesn't allow me to do it all the way because I put in a fake social. Let's see if it'll go back. So right here. So apply for new EIN. Again, begin application. I'm an LLC.
They have websites that look exactly like the IRS website. So if you are asked to pay any such sort of money, you know that it's the wrong website.
It's fake.
It's fake.
Again, this, how many members? It's only one. No question in here is hard where you should require somebody to be doing this for you. You continue, you started a new business, you put your name and all this in. It's not gonna go through strictly because I'm not gonna put my real social security number out here for everyone to see. But once you do that, it generates one for you and you can download the form right then and there. And you'll have your LLC. You can still start to operate even before like the publications of those 6 weeks. With Corona, they were actually very lax because for my my private practice, I actually still haven't done the newspaper one. And even with awareness, when it first started, they didn't get it to me on time. And the newspaper didn't run my ad for the 6 weeks that I had paid for. So they had to do it afterwards. And New York State was just like, don't worry about it. We understand. They were barely picking up their phones because of the pandemic. So again, hold on. Is this page, hold on. Is this page useful for if you're thinking of going into private practice as a mental health care? Which page, Jerry?
That whole page that you just went through in terms of setting up the business.
Well, you have to go through that regardless. In
Okay.
terms of, so that was strictly LLC. If you want to start a private practice, which is and do just a PLLC, one, know that you can still operate as a provider under an LLC, and it's actually less work and less money to start off that way. So with Audrey, I'll go back to you. A PLLC, which I ended up starting just for private practice because I thought I had to have it. And I figured it would be, I guess, more reputable to see the PLLC for patients and clients and other companies wanting to work with me. But really, you really don't need it. I had to pay an extra $50 fee. I had to go through 3 extra steps in terms of sending all my credentials. Once I did that whole thing, I then had to send that with my credentials to New York Department State of Education, and they verified everything, which took several other, like a couple more weeks or so. Then they send it back to you and let you know if it's okay for you to start. Because until they okay, you can't operate as a PLLC, which is why I'm saying it's really just for the P. Literally is just for that professional part in your LLC. You can operate under an LLC, but again, I didn't know. So I went ahead and did that extra step. But if I could go back, in all honesty, I would just operate under an LLC. It's less restrictive. And in terms of even my name, selecting a name for my private practice, as a nurse practitioner, I have to have NP in psychiatry. Because as I showed you, awareness, mental health, PLLC was what I wanted to just be like a branch off what everybody already knew me for. But they said I'm not allowed to have mental health in my name in terms of being a psych NP. So it's definitely more restrictive, more work, more fun. more money, more forms. So again, for me, you can still do it. I'm not trying to deter you from doing it, but just know you can operate under an LLC in terms of a mental health provider or any provider in that case. Audrey, what made me up for an LLC instead of a PC? So awareness was not supposed to be a private practice. It was strictly meant to be a place of resource for our community. So in terms of letting them know, where do you go for therapy? What if, speak your story. So I'll have like my photo series in terms of people speaking about their own mental health issues. So that's why it wasn't a PLLC to begin with, and it's strictly an LLC. Any other questions in terms of LLC versus PLLC? Gotcha. Yes. Okay. So pros and cons of, let me share my little screen. Pros and cons of having a PLLC. I think the illustration is the best way to learn, at least for me. And this is what comes to mind when I think of pros and cons. Having a house or having a car. Pros, you have your own. Your car, you get in when you want, you get out when you want. If you feel like driving from here to California, you can. Your house, you want to come in and turn on all the lights in every single room and give Con Ed an extra bonus, by all means, it's your house. But at the same time, cons, you're paying Con Ed an extra bonus. Your car, if it breaks down, it's on you. You have to go get that fixed. So just think of your company the same way. When it's healthy, you want to keep it healthy, you want to keep it flourishing. But then when things break down, it then falls on you to fix it. So, which is why you have to make sure that you're keeping up with the upkeep of your company. Somebody had a question. Trisha, I appreciate this. No problem. Any way to help us, I'm all for it. Like any way to give us a leg up. Does anyone have any questions in terms of starting an LLC, a PLLC? It's a lot of work. Again, Kelly's information was really dense, and for me to go into like all the information in terms of steps to starting a PLLC is dense. So this is why I decided that we would just get together and create the ebook, and it'll go more into depth for each part. And then you can take the time to sit down and go through these and see what it is that you want to do personally with your funds and with starting your own practice. The major pros of having your own LLC or PLLC is write-offs. Number one is write-offs. One, yes, your why. For me, of course, it was to help people, but as I learned, everything is a write-off. My car, which I now lease, is a write-off. Why? Because there are times where I can't be in my apartment and I have to see patients while I'm in my car. So that now becomes my mobile office. That's a write-off. For your LLC or PLLC, if you are thinking of getting a car, make sure you're leasing, because that's more of a write-off than anything. Part of my rent, electricity. If you can put it under your business name, put it under your business name. Even if it is under your name, but you operate, especially after Corona, you've had to operate within your home. Part of your rent, electricity, different things of that nature are now write-offs. My car insurance is a write-off. My electric bill is a write-off. My cable bill is a write-off. The gas that I put in my car to do certain things is a write-off. So essentially, close to 90% of my bills are write-offs. Why? Because I have my own. And even though my income is a certain amount, another thing that it does, it takes away from my taxable income. So if I'm making $100,000 a year, but I spent $30,000 to upkeep both my companies, my taxable income now becomes $70,000. So it's less taxes coming out for me and a bigger pay return for me when taxes come back. Your return comes back. Any other questions? What are some ways to word out about my business? Okay, so instead of newspaper ads, yes. When I first started, Instagram, social media, our generation loves it. So if you don't, I started a whole separate page for both awareness and the check-in and whatever other things that I do is a whole separate page. And I make sure that I keep up with it. You have to be posting every single day, which I don't like because I do need the break at times, but this is the life I chose, right? So for me, I'm lucky and blessed enough that God has given me interns. So the check-in, a lot of times I see you ladies are responding to the messages, but it's not me, it's my intern. So I try to jump in and like, or I'll mention something, But yeah, so you can get interns. If you feel like you want employees, that's another thing that you can write off, but you're also paying for them. So just think of it. As a mental health provider, insurance panels and Psychology Today is taking care of that for me. Has taken care of what, Audrey? You're muted.
Sorry, I was just answering the person who was asking about how do you go about advertising your business or your services.
Yes.
So about what you're advertising.
Got it. So yes, so I do have Psychology Today as well, and a good 90% of my patients do come from Psychology Today. I was also associated with helloalma.com, but I wasn't seeing any growth in my business with them. I wasn't really getting patients. But what they do offer in terms of being a provider is you can rent out their spaces to do like in-person visits. So that was something, again, that I felt like I would need because I thought, eventually Corona, we didn't think we'd still be here a year later, but we are. So, but they offer that. They offer you networking because they do like connect groups and meetings where other providers come in and they'll talk about different medications, different treatment goals, or just different things happening within that field. So it's a great place to be. But for the $130 a month that I was paying to be in it, I wasn't getting the service that I really signed up for. Have other people been successful? Most definitely. I actually ended up connecting with someone through another provider, and now I'm sit on the board of a nonprofit organization for grief counseling as their clinical advisor. So again, like it may not be what you signed up for, but I don't know your faiths in here, but I believe that God will use it in some term to make it work out for you, especially if you're doing this for good. So Psychology Today, Hello Alma, all this again, I'm gonna get together because it is a lot of information to digest in just 1.5 hours. Like it's just definitely way too much because again, to start up just awareness, like my start date, again, I chronicle every single thing and I'll have pictures, but I started September 13th is when I started writing down, but the idea came August 19th, 2019, and it would be 3 months before I put out anything in terms of pictures, in terms of apparel, in terms of my website. None of that would be launched for another 3 months. But and within that 3 months, it was me building my website, which is a whole other ordeal. Again, you can go the route of paying people to do these things, but I didn't want to pay them. So I sat down through the frustration and I hate the word taught, but I taught myself through it. There was a lot of times I wanted to give up, which is why I say schedule your time, remember your why. And I had to go back and remind myself, okay, no, people need this information. They don't have it. And I was sick of seeing people come into my office and not knowing where to go after leaving me. And I'm sitting there trying to like run around with the chicken with its head cut off, like, hey, can we do this for this patient? Hey, can we do this? And they're telling me no. And so I needed to do more. So my why was what kept me going when I started getting frustrated because my website wasn't looking the way it was, or it was crashing, or there was a misprint on my apparel. Like all that has to be in the back of your head when you're building your own. Trisha Gray said, I had to pay for my website, however, created myself on site 123. I don't know that site. I still use GoDaddy, and another one is Wix. Wix was a little bit harder for me only because I had already learned all of GoDaddy's like nuances and how to do it. So now it's easier for me. So what took me 3 months to essentially learn, I can now sit down and do a website in a day. So again,
if you're really determined to, do the website on your own, you could always YouTube too.
Yeah.
YouTube, the platforms, and find someone that explains it layman's terms where you can like basically start it up yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Canva is good too.
Canva. Mm-hmm. So as you can see, when I share my things, Canva, they have, you could do animated slides. You can create my ebook is going to be created off of them. They do journals. They do posts. Like I love Canva. I pay for the professional subscription, which is about $12.95. But anything I use for business is a write-off. So I don't look at it as, okay, I'm paying this much. Eventually it comes back. So, and I pay through it through my phone. So that $200 bill that I'm paying for T-Mobile every month, it has Canva, it has my sideline, my second number, which I strongly encourage that you have in terms of business, because especially with all these scam numbers coming through, sometimes you don't want to pick up and it's somebody calling for business. But because it's coming through your regular line and you don't know it, it's like, ugh. So I know when number is essentially called from my second line that it's a business call that I need to pick up, as well as having the second email or however many other emails, but make sure it's strictly business. Trisha says she also uses Vistaprint for your merch. I use custom ink for mine, but I was looking for others because there are certain designs that they don't do that I've really been wanting to come out with. So it's highly frustrating. So I'll actually look into Vistaprint as well. But again, and use your local printers. Like I definitely have a black owned printer that I use off of Nostrand. They can be frustrating. So know who you're working with, know your deadline. I always say give them a week prior to what you really need it, and make sure you're going early and you're staying up on them if you feel like you have to. Um, Vistaprint has gotten expensive. It's on Nostrand. Shoot, I don't. It's called NYC Fast Print. They've gotten better because I've been using them since 2019, and before it would be like a hassle to get my things. But yeah, but they're pretty good in printing as well. Any other questions in terms of apparel, promotion? Promotion, I'd say, depending on what you're trying to put out, people these days don't like to read at all. So find a way to make it fun, find a way to make them laugh, especially if you're doing something with mental health or something that's serious. Sometimes people aren't willing to sit down. Like when I talk about depression and suicide, that's not something somebody's going to sit down and just look at me in awe and want to have like a 45-minute conversation about. But if you kind of pull them in with different things, like Tyler Perry, I watched a sermon or a talk that he did, and he says, he wanted to talk about child abuse and physical abuse, emotional, and all these things. But how he did that was through his play. He created Medea. So he makes you laugh, but then within all his movies, there's a lesson being learned. There's something that you may not have wanted to talk about originally, but now you're seeing it on screen and you're like, oh, wow, I'm laughing at this, but this is real and this what needs to be done. And it inspires you to do something. So for me now, I've jumped onto TikTok and I create little short videos, and I'm doing this detox challenge. People like to see it more than they like to read it at times. But once you pull them in and they're interested, then they'll jump on the reading part as well. Not even a darn caption. Not even a caption. Like seriously, no. They don't like. And sometimes people will just post a picture, and if your picture is banned, listen, I am not an iPhone user, but the camera on this phone, I literally had to invest in it, and this is a write-off. Okay, again.
But they'll put like a booty pic, and then they'll be like, "Now that I got your attention." And
yeah, like exactly. It catches you, but then you sit there reading, trying to figure out, yo, what's this? And it's like something real, like, and you swipe to the left and they have like something about home ownership or something. Like they're just looking to, I know it's crazy, but I understand it now. Cause even when I'm scrolling through different things, I'm like, and it'll be like a busset challenge or something that stops you. And you're like, what the heck is this? And then you'll read more and you'll find out what the person was really about. It doesn't have to be a booty pic. Find your way. Like even if you dress really nicely, as long as the picture is eye-catching, which is why I invested into the iPhone, people will stop and look. Any other questions? Start your LLC, ladies. If there's something that people come to you because you're good at it, if it's just giving advice, if it's braiding hair, if it's creating centerpieces, you're extremely creative and you have like a little Etsy page or a Pinterest page and you have all these great ideas and people come to you for these, that is a spark for an LLC. Put your name on it, get ownership, and start writing these things off. We are not here to work from 0 to 70 and then barely be enjoying life afterwards. There is no way that I'm sitting here working till that age. I'm not.
Very true. Oh, I wanted to mention too, the person who asked about rolling over funds from your traditional IRA to your Roth. I'm going to put it in the chat, but you can, but it's still, you're going to pay taxes on it. So you'll pay taxes on it when you do your taxes. There's a website that I also share too, Investopedia. It's really good and it breaks down everything like layman's terms where you can understand. So I'll share that in the chat too.
Again, like Kelly said, if you have ladies have questions in terms of any of the investment things we spoke about, any of the LLC, PLLC discussions that we just had tonight, you can send us DMs. All that will be on the post, and when our ebook comes out, it'll be even more in depth. Kelly, I'm hoping by next month it should be out. I gotta work on the call.
I'm working on it. I started.
Okay, Kelly started. So I have to. So yeah. So again, we're both nurse practitioners by day/night. Kelly owns two businesses. I own two businesses. So it's a lot, but I'm hoping by next month that we'll have it out more in depth and just more digestible for you guys with very nice eye capturing photos, so you can stop and look.
Mhm.
Oh, Kelly also had a question. In terms of ownership, Kels, you wanted to tell them about what the IPO, your company going IPO, and speak more about that.
Oh, I was just gonna invite you guys if you wanted to. Like, so I have the like you said, like I run two companies, and one of the companies is tourism. And before COVID, it was kind of geared towards the New Yorker, like because I feel like as New Yorkers, we don't really take advantage of the experiences in our own backyard, and there's so much to New York rather than like Broadway and and the typical things to do, rooftop brunches and stuff like that. So a company was basically centered on the target audience was New Yorkers and bringing New Yorkers all around New York, upstate, outside, doing vineyards, doing everything. So in the midst of COVID, we kind of have to be innovative on what we do. And so on Sunday, I'm having an expert cybersecurity specialist talk about ways to protect your accounts, especially when you're investing now and using more technology. And we brought her in because, as a company, we want to make sure that our customers are protected when they're putting their information into the website, and making sure that information is not protected and scammed. And now that we're doing everything virtually, it's just we felt like it would be a good time to kind of address that. So I will share the link if you guys want to join. It's Sunday, and she'll talk about WhatsApp. She'll talk about how to protect yourself in the airport. There's things that you never thought that how people get your information. Things that you just never thought that people could get your information by. Even how you present yourself on social media. Like she'll talk about all that stuff. So if you guys are interested, that's happening on Sunday, and I will share the link. Or I don't know how you do it, Sahami.
In terms of, well,
Like share the link to it.
I will put it out. You give it to me. I will actually promote it on the check-in.
Yeah, and she's also been on Sahami's YouTube and talked about during the Black Lives Matter, right?
Yeah, so that interview is also available on my website. It's under the Black Lives Matter tab, so awareness.com, AWRNSS.com, and the interview is under that one.
Yep.
Oh yes, Ashley is Johanna, yeah.
Who's Ashley?
Okay. She knows Johanna.
Oh yes, it's Johanna. It's Johanna.
Okay, so any questions, ladies? I tried to make this as basic as possible, but again,
it was basic.
It's a lot of information. It's a lot. Yes.
Sorry, I wanted to clarify my question.
Oh yes.
This is my last one for tonight.
Oh no, go ahead.
This has been really great. I really do appreciate this because it's really getting me to think differently about things. But how you guys were talking about that certain times, if your employer will match your contribution to your Roth, right?
Yeah.
So if you have an LLC, your company, and you're an employee of your company, could your LLC
trade
your employer who's contributing?
That's what that
could your employer
you're the boss basically, but you're also the employee.
Right.
So whatever you're putting in from your company in your Roth IRA, can you also match it as the boss?
Right.
Oh,
or is that shady stuff?
That would be a great loophole if you can.
That's a really good question, but I'm sure
there's gonna be some type of taxes and penalties.
I'm sure there's regulation on it. You can trade in your company name though. So like you have a company and you want to start trading separate from what you're doing, you can open up a brokerage account in your company name.
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, please, you need a business account. Do not intertwine your regular accounts with your business accounts. I did, and it's just such a pain at times. So now I had to I started a business account, which I have, and research them because a lot of them charge fees. Some of them want you to keep a $1,500 a day balance. And if you should go $5 below that, they're charging you a penalty. So some of
Right.
the free ones, I know there's a Bethpage business account. That one's free. I have Axos, AXOS. They don't have a branch that you can go into. They're strictly online, but I don't keep a bulk of my money in that. I have a checking and savings with Capital One that I strictly just now use for awareness, even though it's not a business account. I'll just transfer the money from there into my Axos business account, but
And
just have that beforehand.
it's just good to keep the things separate
Yeah.
because essentially, I mean, I'm not saying that anybody's going to attack your business, but you want to keep it separate where if your business happens to have a lawsuit or whatever, it's the business asset. It has nothing to do with you. You
Yeah.
stand alone and separate from the business. So they're not going to be coming after your assets. So that's why it's just good to just keep it separate. The LLC is its own entity. It's its own person, separate from Sahami, separate from Kelly. Like,
Yeah. So, and another thing in terms of having LLCs, so I could have continued and did my private practice under awareness as an LLC, but if you have two businesses, two separate companies essentially under one name, when one takes a hit, the second one takes a hit. So God forbid awareness ever got sued for something, or even my private practice it would have took both of them out. So that's why it's always good to separate your companies. So they're each, if one gets hit, it's just one getting hit, and you still have the other one operating under good stance. So another good reason to just separate. And again, it doesn't cost that much. Again, I don't know your funds, but it doesn't cost that much to really have the separate ones. You're just paying your 210, 225 plus your registered agent fee, the annual. It's really not bad.
and depending on what the company is, maybe you want to do an S corp. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
each one, S corp, C corps, each one has different tax breaks and different advantages. And so depending on the company that you're opening up, I would just do research on that. And your tax provider can tell you like, okay, well, you should stick with the LLC, or you're better profited in doing an S corp, or whatever that is, whatever that looks like.
S corp has the biggest breaks. But you need to. I started as an LLC strictly because I didn't see awareness as something to make money. So the private practice I may look at as time goes on and it builds. Once it hits a certain revenue or amount that I'm making on a yearly basis, I will transfer it into an S corp, only because you get more tax breaks with it. Any other questions? I think we did a lot.
This was good, Sahami.
Yeah, we hit a lot. Sorry, I missed. Will there be a playback? Yes, there will be a playback. Again, it's going to be available on my website, awareness.com, AWRNSS.com. And I try to do short clips on my Instagram page as well. Either awareness or the check-in will have the short clips, but full video on awareness.com.
Oh, did I make the disclaimer? I'm not a financial advisor or fiduciary.
Yes, I put it under the posts. There was asterisks and everything. We are not financial advisors. We are not lawyers. Listen, make your list on New York Business Express, and make sure you stick to it and get 3 main things they always say when you're starting your own business that you need is an accountant, a registered agent or a lawyer. And what's the third one? I think that's basically it.
Yeah. But and you need to have bookkeeping.
A bookkeeping, yeah. So your tax person. Make sure they're versed. Not all tax people do the same things. Some are well versed in stocks. Some are well versed in personal companies. Some are just well versed in personal taxes. So before you just hire someone, ask to let them know, this is what I'm doing. These are my plans. Is this something you do? Because now my tax person, I'm able to send in my LLC paperwork, my PLLC paperwork, as well as my personal taxes. And I know that I'm in good hands and I don't have to worry about, are they doing the right things? Okay. All right.
Thanks for having me, Sahami.
Oh, no, thanks for coming on. She will be back, ladies. She will most definitely be back. Because probably after the ebook, so that we can go more into like technicals.
Oh, yeah. I'll do that next time. Yes.
Yeah, most definitely. What do I want us to remember? So again, follow the check-in. If you're not, follow the check-in with awareness on the Facebook group. Sunday, for the ladies who are doing it with us, we start our detox. Yay! Raw vegan. Who's excited? No, I'm kidding. I'm not excited for raw vegan. Oh, Kelly's excited for raw vegan.
No,
I am not
I'm
excited.
trying to, I gained a little bit of weight
Oh
since the
gosh,
last one, so
please.
I'm trying to.
Oh my gosh. Here we go. She's a gym rat. Like when she gains weight, I don't even know where exactly.
So I'm trying to do this detox for different purposes. Okay.
Meanwhile, she's the one that introduced me to this detox. And I'm like, here we go. But yes, but again, very like health wise, I'm doing this for health. I literally don't want to lose more weight, but I did put on weight after going back to eat the way I used to, and I feel more sluggish. So I'm taking traditional meat out of my diet just altogether. I'm keeping it to seafood, and I'm hoping to eventually even take that out because I feel such a different way. Like I just feel weighed down and heavier. I'm more tired. And I wasn't feeling like that when I did this full body detox originally. So I want to get my body back to that, especially since I'm doing all these things every single night. I need to have my energy about me. You know, I don't want disease because I feel like us in the Black community, disease takes us out just as much as any other thing. So that shouldn't be the case. We make these lifestyle changes. We pick what we put into our bodies. So why not choose what's helping us live? What happened?
The
I can't let go of oxtail. Girl, that's what got me back was oxtails. Oxtails got me back. I'm like, oh, I want to cook. Let me make some oxtail. And then it just slowly went back down to all types of meat from there. So, but yes, you can let go of oxtail. You can. You can. They don't even be giving you that much in the plate anyway. It's mostly bones. They don't give you that much. Come on now. You can let go of oxtails. Just for 7 to 10 days. For those who aren't doing the bitters, you don't have to do it with the bitters. You can just strictly decide to do it vegan or raw vegan. And then that's salads, that's juices, that's fruits. So again, it's just keeping meat out, keeping dairy out, because that's another thing that's not necessarily best for us. And we don't know because we grow up on these things, especially me being Haitian. Okay. Like pork, griot. If I could have it every single day, I would with some black rice. I sure would. Mm-hmm. But it's not good for me. Diabetes runs in my family. Kidney issues runs in my family. High blood pressure runs in my family. So I need to be the one that breaks that. I don't have any of those things, and I'm determined to keep it that way. So join us at 7 to 10 days, and you lose weight.
Word.
Christmas. Summer is right around the corner. It may not be what we wanted,
really
but we can go out. You can still put on your two-piece. You know sundress season is coming up soon. Sundress season is coming up.
With your mask on.
Of course, match your mask with the sundress.
The shields.
Why not? What? They have them. They have them. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Our future family nurse practitioner put hypertension, heart disease. What's I don't know the rest. HLD. What's HLD?
What did she
HLD or HID? No, HLD. Billy, what's HLD? Hyperlipidemia or high cholesterol. All right, come on, speak English. Not everybody here is in medical. All right, some of us are strictly psych. We're strictly psych. No, I'm kidding. They're big on saying psych nurses don't know medical. We do. Okay, I draw blood. I give injections. I do all of it. Thank you. Thank you, State. Any other questions? I think we did a lot. We're good. I can't wait to see all of you on the detox with us, our before and afters. Please remember to post in the Facebook group, or when you do it, tag the check-in or tag the check-in, because that's what we're doing it with, so I can see your pictures. I can upload them. We're here to support each other. We're here to build each other. That is the main purpose of the check-in. Until next time, I believe we're going to be talking about triggers, being that it's still women's women's, what are we calling this month? Women's History Month, Women's Appreciation Month. So we've spoken about our health. We've spoken about how we build generational wealth. So now I want to make sure that we get that mental health aspect, and it's identifying our triggers so that way we can switch the narrative on how we react to certain, to people, to situations, because that can actually tear us down just as bad as our health. So that will be next week's. And at some point, I do want to work with my cousin who jumped on here in getting her provider to come on and speak about fibroids. I personally have it and dealing with it, so I would definitely love to get more information on it. And that's what I'm working on for the month of May. So we have some time in between. Any other questions? No? Oh my gosh, thank you so much, ladies. You guys, you were great. You asked so many questions.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good night. I will see you One act of self-care, please. Don't forget. Good night. Huh? I don't know. What the heck?